Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. My name is Fergus. I'm your host. I'm joined by two of my sidekicks. I'm joined by Dan this time. We didn't have you last week, and we haven't got Alex this time because he's studying. Are you gone rogue already?
Yeah, today, just for today.
Oh, you did. You've moved house, but your internet hasn't improved.
I'm going to be a rogue tonight on this podcast.
Oh,
that might be good for me and you, to be honest, Ferg. We might not have the echo of his lovely singing in the background all afternoon.
Well, you know what? My kids bought me a gift for Christmas, and to be honest, I think it could have suited Trev down to a T. You know, warning: grumpy old Arsenal fan lives here, drinking beer, watching TV and throwing the remote control. It just does sound like Trev, doesn't it?
I don't know. I think that's quite befitting of you as well, mate. But anyone watching, if you want to take a screenshot of that, blank out the middle, and you can post absolutely any picture just to annoy Fergus. It works really well. If you've got any questions, DM me. I'll help you out.
I don't know what Trevor's doing at the minute. He'll probably come back and join us shortly. Well, one of the reasons I'm a little bit grumpy, you see these lovely things behind me. How straight are they now, Dan? Are they much better?
No, they're not. They're actually terrible. It's probably the worst I've ever seen. Look at the middle one at the bottom. Look at that's terrible. No,
they are straight. They're all in line, and they're all leveled up with a little spirit level and everything else. And because of that, and using Velcro strips, my Wenger limited edition Wenger. Let me get rid of that. Fell. So signed. There's only 15 of them, and there's a tear right across the middle. I'm absolutely so fed up over that. It's absolutely unreal. And you think it's hilarious, don't you?
Ferg's been really, really down over this, and he was upset a bit before, but you shouldn't laugh, but I can't help but laugh.
You're a fucker, you are, I tell you. I didn't sleep properly last night. I've been fed up all day. Honestly, really have been fed up. I've been in touch with Dell, and Dell's offered to help out getting it remounted and stuff like that if needs be. But it's not going to fix the tear on the thing. We'll just waffle on for a few more minutes more to hopefully see if Trevor.
I honestly believe that things happen for a reason in life, and I think that's karma for you for not putting your pictures up properly, mate.
And you know what karma for Ginger is? You'll find out tomorrow night at about 5:15 when I give you a clump.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute 45 into it, and that's the first nibble from Fergus. You're welcome.
Oh, okay, you're getting more than a nibble. You'll get full blown. Hang on a second. Just Dale is available, so let's Command B. Let's get him on there and see if he wants to join us when he's free. So we will be talking.
And firstly, how was your Christmas?
Christmas wasn't too bad. We had 14 for Christmas dinner. My mother-in-law had been in hospital for 10 days beforehand, so it was quite exhausting. And she got out and she managed to come here for Christmas. And yeah, it was quieter. We left by about 5:30. I was left with the 3 grandkids, the wife, myself, and watching Home Alone and Willy Wonka. And then yesterday, my daughter and her now fiance flew into the UK, and they're downstairs at the minute. We're going to crack open some champagne tonight to celebrate them getting engaged. Yourself?
Yeah, I think much like yourself. I mean, first, I think congratulations. I know you're very happy that you've got probably a new in-law on the way.
Yes, we have.
But yeah, I similar to you. I think I got back from Liverpool, I think about 2 a.m. So didn't stay up there. Decided to come back same day. So it was pretty knackered the next day, and then quite a late night with family Christmas Eve, and up early because 2 nieces are excited and ready to open presents. So yeah, it was nice to spend time with family, and then to get back to the football on Boxing Day was quite nice too.
Trev, did you get internet for Christmas? No, he's on mute and he's walked off.
You must have upset him again, Fergus, to be honest with you.
I think we have. Oh, look how straight his pictures are.
To be fair, they do look pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
There was. Do I have that video? Did I put it in the podcast group? The video of Arteta. I think I did, didn't I? Is that the one? No, that's a different one.
Trevor's back.
Why does your internet work all day and then suddenly when you just go live, it all crashes? What's going on in this world I live in?
It's called typical, isn't it? It really is typical. Listen, we've had 4 years of Mikel Arteta since we were last on, Trev. Did you have a good Christmas, first of all? How did Don and Nancy and all the family? I know I spoke to you a couple of times. It was quite full on for you for both days, wasn't it?
4 years of Mikel Arteta since we were last on. We did a podcast last week.
He passed his 4-year anniversary this week.
Yeah, but you said it's been 4 years since we were last on.
No, 4 years of Mikel Arteta since we were last on.
Anyway, yeah, I had a really good Christmas, thank you. Lots of visitors, went visiting other people, ate too much, drunk too much, and now I feel like crap. But apart from that, yeah, all good.
So Arteta, 4 years of Arteta. Let's talk about that first of all. If you were to give him a score out of 1 to 10, 1 being dreadful and 10 being fantastic, Trev, I'll go to you first of all, because you're normally the guy who's very, very much more on the half full, 3/4 overflowing cup. So you've normally got a very positive view on these sort of things.
Yeah.
What's your score out of 10 that you'd give Arteta, and where can you see how can he improve that score in your eyes?
Right. I'd give him a firm 9 out of 10, Fergus, to be honest.
Okay.
I think that he's shown the odd error that has shown a little bit of lack of experience. And I think that he's done 1 or 2 things that have shown him to be a little bit stubborn. And they're 2 things that I would like to see change slightly. But you can't knock the man, can you? When you look at what he inherited, a team that didn't want to play football for the Arsenal, and where we are now, a team that is going to win, I'm sure is going to win trophies going forward on a regular basis for a few years. I can't fault him. Just 1 or 2 little things, but I wouldn't change him for the world.
Dan, your score and your view, and what would you add to his his qualities to make him better?
I would say I'd honestly at the moment give him a 10. I'm happy with where we've come from and where we're going. I think anyone that expects a process to have no mistakes and no issues along the way are on a different planet. So there's no such thing in this world as perfection, other than obviously the 3 stallions sitting on this podcast. But maybe 2 actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but
Trev, yeah.
Well, Rogue Trev tonight. But he's taken our club from feeling as a fan like the players and the club don't care about you to feeling like there's an interaction with the club again, with the players and players giving their all and playing for the badge. And I think that's what you want as a fan. On top of that, of course, we all want to win, but you've got to understand that isn't going to happen every single season. It's not going to happen in every single cup competition. And the fact that we're back challenging now, I'm very happy.
Okay, apparently there's an issue with the chat on YouTube. So if you want to chat to us, you might want to jump over to Facebook. The chat is working on Twitter as well. And if you go to Hillsy Gooner, you can chat to us via there as well. I'm led to believe. Yeah, you can now. You can now.
Do you know what Dan just said, right? He's touched on the most important thing, or one of the very much most important things from Arteta's reign, right? Where we used to go football pre-Arteta, right? I used to go to away game. I go away games all the time. And I used to go thinking, oh, I hope we turn up today. I hope they decide they're going to play today. I hope they play for the badge today. I was just hope. Now when I go to games, I go full of expectation. You know, I go thinking, and we've got a side that are going to be worth watching, that are going to turn up and play for the badge. And I honestly think that the away game we're going to talk about shortly at Liverpool at the weekend was the epitome of that. It was just a superb game of football.
Yeah, it was. Just to finish up on this one, my score for Arteta would probably be somewhere around the 8.5. Probably the 8 is where I would do. Everything that you both said about, he's won a trophy in his first opportunity. He's won the Charity Shield still. I know that doesn't really count, but it's winning. Huge what he's done about re-engaging with the fans, re-engaging with the players and the club, and making sure that those core values are there. Yes, a process takes time. My issue probably is more about we haven't won a major trophy in the sense of Champions League or the Premier League yet. I'm not saying we're not going to do that very, very soon, because I think we're on the right track. Some of his stubbornness I find a little bit frustrating, and at times some of his choices of probably substitutions more than anything else. But listen, 8 out of 10 is still a flipping a good one. When I'm really picking for little bits to try and say, where I feel, I think he gets us. I think he gets us as fans, and I think he gets the club. He's done. Go on, Trev.
Ferg, it's really interesting, right? Because you've just given him an 8, right? And I just want to chuck something at you, a nice something. I gave Arteta a 9, but I had it in my head that I didn't think there was anyone that could have done better. With what he's took for 4 years down the road, I don't think anyone could have done a better job than Arteta. I wouldn't swap him for anyone, you know what I mean?
No, I agree, and to be honest, I was talking to some people over Christmas, and we're looking at the shambles that Chelsea is in, and the shambles that United are in, and other clubs, and even you look at you've got Postecoglou and you got Eddie Howe, who are both the media darlings. I wouldn't have either one of those at our club. Eddie Howe possibly because he's young and dynamic, but I don't think he's as good as Arteta. And I don't see another manager currently in the Premier League as good as Mikel Arteta. Pep, but I think Pep has done that. And Pep, by the sounds of it, he's finished the chapter of that book. And by the sounds of it, I think he'll be off at the end of this season, because he'll have to find another book somewhere else in another league. And I think it's going to be international football. Dan, do you have any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, just really to ask you, what do you think you need to do to get to a 10? And if, just preempting an answer that might not be your answer, if the answer to that is he has to win trophies, do you think that a manager's performance is just based on trophies? Because you've got many, many managers out there that are probably not going to win a trophy, yet will probably do a better job than the guys that do at times.
I don't think you'll ever get a 10 out of 10 from me for Mikel Arteta or Pep Guardiola or anybody, because I think everybody's got some failings, and I think 9 is top of the tree. It sounds stupid because I went to an appraisal in work one time and you scored out of 5, and I said nobody gets a 5. I said, well, why is 5 there? So I've probably contradicted myself to a certain degree. But
point though,
he would have to win a trophy for me to get a 10. It'd be the double of the Champions League and the Premier League. I'm sorry, but I think the Champions League. If we look at who we got Porto in the group stages. We've had a nice group. Porto, Copenhagen maybe would have been the two favoured draws. We've had the better of the two draws. Sitting with my son over Christmas dinner, and we're looking at who's in that draw. There's not many that I'd fear in that Champions League draw. So I think with the right luck and the right draw, we can get a long way in this Champions League. In the league is a harder thing, and I think for him to progress from an 8 to a 9 is winning the Premier League. I know there's only there's 19 teams in the league, and there's probably 4 or 5 that genuinely contend for the league title. I don't think we've got 3 that are really in contention, and I think we've been knocking on that door for so long. I'd be disappointed if we're not right bang up there. Second, first. But there'd be a point in it.
It's interesting because looking at the odds of winning the Champions League now, I think we were joint third with Real Madrid, and it just shows the job I think that he's done to get us in a position where people are actually not saying that we could get a bit lucky. They're actually saying that we're one of the front runners to win it. And considering it's the first year back in the Champions League, that's a big change. And there's some big teams around that we are considered having a better chance of winning the Champions League than them. And we're up there with, I think it was Man City, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and us as the favourites for the competition. So, as I said, I don't think you can do much better than being in and around challenging for trophies, because as Pep said, City have won so many trophies recently, but that isn't the norm. That isn't what fans should be expecting to be doing it every single year. But what they should expect is to challenge. And I think we're in a position where I feel like we're going to be challenging now for years to come.
Yeah. Trevor, we're talking about the Champions League, but there was also a statement made out recently about the European Super League that UEFA, FIFA, their sort of hold on the decision to stop the competition was upheld in some high court. Barcelona, Real Madrid, and a few other teams as well look like they're trying to progress this league. Arsenal made a statement that European football judgment said that they're not really interested. Let me just bring that up on the right screen. Hang on one second. We will continue to work and play in UEFA competitions. We continue to with our fellow European clubs, European Club Association. What did you make of the statement? It was very brief. And what's your thoughts on the competition or the possibility of the competition in the future?
For me, I think it was very much a sit on the fence statement. I think that all football clubs that have got a chance that might be wanting to go and play in it, if it happened, won't want to be slamming the door completely, because they'll be putting their feet in their mouth, won't they? So they're all sort of putting out these statements, but they're all sort of sitting on the fence statements. But don't forget, we are sort of getting a European Super League by the back door next year, aren't we? UEFA are doing it, aren't they? We're going to have a big league of 30-odd teams, and they're all going to play 8 games. I really can't see the attraction in it, but that's what they're going to do. So we're getting a European Super League. But as for the statement, much like other big teams, they're sitting on a fence, folk. They're not going to close the door on it because they wouldn't want to be left behind. But they don't want to be seen to be encouraging it because they know what that caused last time. So everyone's just... The statement actually said nothing, didn't it? It just said we're
No, it didn't.
Well.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, and I think it probably is just hedging the bets to see what happens overall, because we'll be wherever the money is. I think that's what I think myself. Yeah. Dan, your view on the ESL and the judgment and Arsenal statement.
The statements, as you said, are I think a bit of a nothing statement. It's what you expect from a major corporate. They're doing what they have to do as opposed to maybe what the true feeling is. But all we can do as fans is if it goes that way, show our views as we did before. It's not what we want. I think football is going down a tricky direction in the number of games that we're playing. It's going to get to a point where it's going to break the players, and I think we're not far off that now. We've seen that with injuries and commitments. And we're going into a place where they quite clearly don't care about fans, and it's been like that for a while. But the expense for fans to be travelling all over the world and following their team is already high enough for many. And if they want to keep sport for local fans supporting their local club and being able to follow them all over the world, well, they need to also keep that in mind. And I think not be adding additional games for the fans and for the players. So hopefully we don't go down that route, but money talks.
It does indeed. Right, a huge game that we had just before Christmas. You were up there, so was Trevor, up in the Northwest. Trevor, we touched on this before. We've touched on it a couple of times. The importance of winning in the Northwest. This was the 100th meeting of Arsenal and Liverpool. The last time we won was in September 2012 when we had Manoni, Gibbs, Mertesacker, Mahoney. I know. I've been watching Police Academy. Ramal, Jenkinson, Cazorla, Arteta, Diaby, don't do me. Diaby, Podolski, Giroud, and Oxlade-Chamberlain. That was our side back then. Even Mahoney was in goal.
Did you just repeat that? I didn't quite get it.
Yeah, don't worry. It wasn't Mahoney. It was Manoni in goal. It's a long, long time. You look at it, what's that? Nearly 14 years. It's 13 and a half years, isn't it? No, 12. 12 years. Oh,
about that.
Yeah. A long time.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Fergus, you go to the Northwest and you try and win games. But if you can't win a game, then you make a statement, right? And I honestly think that we went to Liverpool the weekend and we made a statement and we showed how much we have improved. I thought that from start to finish, we were superb. We rode our luck at times. But then every team that goes away to play Liverpool Anfield has to ride their luck a little bit, you know. A couple of decisions went our way, undoubtedly, but we kept bouncing back and we kept attacking and we kept looking for space and we kept moving it and we never gave in. Gave in, right? In the past, we've given in at big games like that. Gone up and all that shit. You might as well pack your bags and go home. But it's all over. But me and you had a conversation earlier this week, Ferg, and you said to me, Liverpool could have nicked it at the end. But the most important point to make is, so could the Arsenal. Could the Arsenal. We were in it right up until the 110th minute. And it was so important that you don't take any negatives from that game at Liverpool. Really don't.
I think that the point I was trying to get to is the importance of winning in the Northwest. Like we've beaten Everton, which we struggled as a bogey team. Okay, we've got a draw against Liverpool, which we'll talk about the game in depth later. And that we've got a Man United that if we don't go up there and smash them from one end of Old Trafford to the other, I don't know what's wrong with us. And then Man City, who seem more fallible than normal. So winning in the Northwest is key to us winning the title. Dale, welcome. We'll come to you in a second. Klopp complained about the atmosphere in Anfield during the Carabao Cup against West Ham. Dan, he stoked it up and just tried to get the atmosphere going. Like, I listened to it on the telly because I wasn't up there, and I must admit, I know how they mess about with the effects, microphones and everything else, but it didn't half sound loud. Was it louder than last year? Did it feel any more intense? Because it didn't half sound on here.
I'd probably say it did to me personally. The last few years felt quiet from what a lot of people have been saying years ago. I've never been there and seen an atmosphere where I thought, yeah, I get why this place is feared and why clubs don't like coming here on Champions League nights, etc. Because every time I've been there, it's not been fantastic. I've actually felt like, as you guys have said, it's just over the Tannoy system. It's pumped out. You can hear their speakers a mile away when you're coming into the ground. But it was probably the loudest I've seen it there personally. And it felt like certainly the first 45 minutes, like we were under attack. And it felt like they were running at me personally from where I was sitting and seeing them attacking us. It felt very much the first half like I just needed to get in at half time and get out of it because it felt relentless. But yeah, obviously not watched it back on the TV, so I don't really know how the atmosphere was on there. But yeah, in person it sounded quite loud to me.
Yeah, I saw it differently.
Come.
I saw it different. I thought that they were loud at the start of the game before kickoff. They turned the Tannoy up for "You'll Never Walk Alone" louder than I've ever heard it. But when we went up 1-0 up in the fourth minute, between that and scoring a goal, their fans weren't back. At the one time when the team needed them fans loud, I thought they were quiet for 15 or 20 minutes. All they did was boo when Arsenal had the ball.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
And then in fairness, after they scored, that woke the fans up and they were loud for the rest of the game. I thought they did really well. But it needs to be said that after we scored our goal, between us scoring our goal and them scoring, I thought their fans let them down. That's the one time you want your fans to pick you up, and they weren't there.
Del, welcome to the show. Arsenal, for the third game running, had an unchanged side with Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli and Jesus. Were you happy with the lineup? You can't be unhappy with it, Del, can you?
No, I think it was pretty much, if you'd have asked any Arsenal fan to name the lineup before kickoff, that's pretty much what everybody would have gone for. We can trust that team. We know what they're capable of. So wouldn't you start it away at Anfield? It's a tough place to go, and I think the boys delivered on what they needed to do.
And we really came at them because, you know, the second set piece, the first set piece was a corner, second set piece was a header from Gabriel, and we went 1-0 up in 4 minutes. What was your reaction to that?
Not a lot, because I was on the train back from the darts. I missed the first 10 minutes of the game. So, I was literally just, my stream on my phone kept cutting out. I was like, oh no. So I only saw I missed the first 10 minutes of the game.
60 million down the drain.
Trev, for you and Dan, it must have been, you know, 4 minutes in, brilliant. We had it last time when we were up there, but it's a long, long, long wait then to think, right, okay, we need to get across the line. Especially as Dan said earlier, it was relentless from that moment on. It was fanatic. The ball went up and down the pitch just continuously.
Yeah. It was absolute mayhem after we scored that goal. The most enjoyable few minutes of the season after we scored. It was wonderful. And then, as you rightly say, I was right down. I was in row 3, so I was right near the pitch. And you don't see it on the telly. I don't know if Dan picked it up where you was, Dan. Lyle was right behind us. But the speed of the play and the skill levels and the intensity never dropped all game. Both sides were at their very, very best. Make no mistake about that. The skill levels were tip-top. And as I said just now, the speed of the play was breathtaking. It was an amazing game of football to watch. And I obviously, I wish we'd have nicked it. But, you know, we've come away from Anfield, and I'm going to keep restating it. We've come away from Anfield. We've not won in the Northwest, but we've quite possibly put in a best performance of the season at possibly the best team in the Northwest at the moment. You know what I mean? On form, they're the best team in the Northwest. So I'm taking all pluses out of this performance at Liverpool.
Dan, there was a couple of controversial moments that happened. One player came into quite a bit of criticism in Zinchenko, which we'll touch on. But before that, I'll put it on, and I'm not going to play much of this, but I'll give you the still picture first of all, so people can have a clue where we're going. It's let me get rid of the banner. It's Odegaard and the penalty claim on 19 minutes. I'm going to play a little bit of the video, and we'll see what your thoughts were and what you could see from where you were.
Oh. Yeah, to be honest, when I was watching it live, my initial reaction was that's a penalty, and then when it went to review, I was thinking, yeah, he's just going to go over to the screen, ain't he? But lucky for us, it wasn't given. But I would say I think it's a wrong decision. I think it's handball. I understand why VAR has not overturned it, and I don't know about you guys. I feel like the last 2 or 3 weeks, I felt a bit of a change in VAR. That I felt a bit more of a step back. And I felt like the bar might have gone a little bit higher with them in terms of overturning referees' decisions. And there, as they said, was going to be the use. It's only going to be a clear and obvious error that they can overturn it. And if there's some form of mitigating circumstance, and they won't overturn a ref's decision. And the ref's decision seems to be taking a bit more importance in decisions in the last couple of weeks. And I think had the ref given it, it definitely wouldn't have been overturned. But because he didn't give it, and because he's slightly, I guess, off balance, and you see the arm come out and come back in again, that's why they've said maybe won't give it. But yeah, it's a silly rule, handball at the minute. No one knows what handball is, but
That's very true.
We very much got away with one there, I think.
Well, do you think VAR has changed? Do you think they're given more credence to the on-field decision? Because I do feel, as part of the season was gone, there was no point in having a referee on the pitch.
I think it's too early to say. I mean, it's a very busy schedule over the Christmas period and the fixture pile-up. If it continues in the next kind of week or so, 2 weeks, then maybe. But I do think we dodged a bullet there. I mean, for me, that's a penalty all day long. If that goes against us, we'd be fuming. We would be absolutely fuming. But that being said, it was quite nice to see the Liverpool meltdown on Twitter. I don't note any changes such as of yet, but I see what Dan means by that. I think give it a week or two, and then I think we'll get a bigger picture.
29 minutes in, Trev, Salah got an equaliser with a great pass from Alexander Arnold. Now, he was back near his own corner flag, about 18-yard line, along level with that, and he put a pin, landed absolutely on Salah's toe. Zinchenko was the last man in that corner, and Zinchenko tracked the ball. But by the time he actually got to grips of where he was, if he had made a tackle in the box where he was, I think he could have, one, given a penalty away, and two, possibly given a red card away. Yet again, all over the Twitter, Facebook, and various WhatsApp groups and everything else, people were slagging off Zinchenko left, right, and centre. What were your thoughts on it?
I said I didn't see Dan at half time, but the lads I was talking to at half time, I said to them, how did you see it, boys? Because I saw it. I thought that Zinchenko let us down a little bit there, and they were all in agreement. So the general consensus in the stadium was that Zinchenko could have done better. But that don't mean we're calling him out. We're not being swearing and calling him all sorts. I just think Zinchenko could have done better. Hopefully next week he will. I think you have to take into account as well that was possibly the worst playing surface I've seen for a few years in the Premier League. I'm not sure how Zinchenko was on his feet. I know he'd slipped once already. But yeah, he let Salah come inside very, very easily. And we all knew, I knew in the stands that Salah wanted to be on his left foot. I knew where Salah wanted to go, and Zinchenko let him go there. You know, if I was Zinchenko, I'd have been standing there making him go down the line at all costs, and he didn't. You can put that down to good play from Salah. You can put it down to weak play from Zinchenko. At the end of the day, it was a goal. I thought Zinchenko was weak. We move on. I don't want to see him castigated. I don't want to see him drop next week. But you asked me a question. I thought Zinchenko.
No,
so yeah,
and I agree with you. I don't think Zinchenko had a bad game. I think he had a few moments that come into question, and that being one of them. But yet again, he's up against one of the best players in the world. So, Dan, what was your view on that? And just basically the cross by Arnold to Salah, and it was a great strike.
It's a difficult one. I've spoken to a few lads, I think, that have a similar opinion to you guys. You can analyse that goal very, very differently, right? First of all, to give Trent that much time on the ball is wrong. There should be higher pressure on him and stop him playing that ball. The ball's come over. I think his positioning's fine. People criticising him, saying, "No, it's every time in his space." Like you're playing a guy that, don't forget, one is started off as a winger and also played as an attacking midfielder. He's been dropped back into left fullback as he did with City, so he isn't naturally, a fantastic defender. But his position was fine. The mistake is he let Salah come back on his left hand side. And then I think it's a very good finish from Salah. He's made the mistake by letting him go inside. He should have shown him to the byline. But I think people forget that he wouldn't. If we had a fully fit squad, I don't believe he starts this game. I think if Tomiyasu's fit, he plays. I think if Timber gets a run in the team when he's back fit, he'll probably take that space too. And you're probably looking at what will be our second or third choice left back. And a guy that will probably play at home to the smaller sides when we need someone to be a bit more creative and drop into the midfield spaces. So I think let's not jump on the bandwagon saying we need to go out and buy a new left back or we need to do this. I don't think we do. But there is no doubt that he does make mistakes. And yeah, I'll be very surprised if everyone is fully fit, if he starts at left back away to a big side. Because he isn't naturally switched on to those sort of scenarios. But everyone makes mistakes. With him in the side, we win more than we would without him. So let's not pin it all on him.
No, I agree, and some of the stats that come out about Zinchenko of how much input he has on the pitch and how much of his forward passing and how he moves the ball forward through the midfield to allow it get to Odegaard, etc., and resulting in goals. Seems to get lost in all the noise about, he's not great defensively. We all know his failings. That's not his best part, but when he plays that inverted role, he leaves it a little bit more exposed there. Dale, if we're looking at players that could come under criticism, and I'm not on a witch hunt in any way, but Zinchenko got slated for that move. But yet again, it was a near post. A great strike by Salah, but it was near post. And Raya, or any other keeper, not just Raya, should a keeper have done better in that instance?
Let's not take anything away from the shot. I mean, Salah is, if we say it as it is, Salah is one of the best right-sided players in the world with a hell of a left foot on him. I'm always dubious about keepers being beaten in the near post, but in this example, I'd say no. And the reason I say that is I was talking to a good friend of mine who actually plays as a goalkeeper, and they said sometimes they just hit that sweet, they hit that well, you just can't get to it. I don't think Ray has done anything wrong there, in all honesty. I think Lyle raises a good point, and it's something that I said on the day as well. I think if Gabriel was a little bit closer to Zinni, then maybe that doesn't happen. That's not, again, that's like Lyle says there, that's not blaming anybody. That's not saying Gabriel was at fault. I don't think he was. But I think we're looking a bit too deep into it. The reality is Trent, we know, can ping a ball. Salah, we know, can finish a ball. We know he's on his left foot. I think the error, if there's any error there at all, it lays with Zinni for allowing him to cut inside on his left.
Trev, some really good points there. That not only about the ball from Arnold, also that the way he takes it and how good he is, but also the Martinelli point. Now, Martinelli, I don't think has had a fantastic game. He seems to be pushed way too far out on the wing all the time. Maybe he should be allowed to creep in a bit more. But if he was covering Zinni a little bit more, do you think he could give him that little bit more protection?
The move was too quick, Fergus. The move was
in
too
that
quick.
Instance, yeah.
And this we say about Gabriel, it's right what Lyle and what Jamie have said, right? If Gabriel is 2 meters closer, to Zinchenko, then they don't score. But then Gabriel's leaving someone open in the middle. It was a sweet goal, right? Dale just hit the nail on the head. Then as I said just now, I was in row 3, right behind that goal, right? And he hit that ball so hard. There's absolutely no blame on Raya there. I thought Raya had a good game, actually. I thought he in a hostile atmosphere, in a big level game, I thought Raya played really well. And trust me, he wouldn't have had time to blink before that went past him and hit the top of that net, let alone move an arm. It went in like a rocket. Absolutely no blame on the goalkeeper at all. It was just, at the end of the day, what we could say was our defenders could have done better. But it was a damn fine goal, you know? It was a damn fine goal. It was a great finish from a great player, and we have to take that.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I'd say Raya's performance, as you said, I think was quite good. I think he went long when he needed to. He played short when he needed to. He was calm. I think there's no blame on Raya. I don't think Ramsdale would have saved that. And I'd go as far as saying that even the legend of Mahoney wouldn't have saved that as well.
Mahoney.
He's on Mahoney.
Jamie, what you won't know is earlier on I was reading out the squad that we last beat at Liverpool, and rather than Mahoney, I said Mahoney, so that's where that's come from. So, the reason why
not where it comes from, because I've been doing a little bit of googling while we've been on here as well, and
what's that?
It has some form of Irish descendants, and it's a Gaelic name, and it comes from something in the 4th century. So I'm gonna dig a bit further and see where the links are to your family there.
Well, you know what you can do. You can poke Mahone. You can poke Mahone, and you research that one.
I don't know, but I don't want to poke anything at yours, mate. I'm all right. Thank you very much.
No. Listen, it was a frantic second half, and we came under the cosh quite a lot in the second half. And we made some changes. Trossard came on for Jesus. Trossard came on for Martinelli, and later Eddie came on for Jesus. But on the 74th minute, the man mountain that is Declan Rice saw off this wave of pressure and subsequent hitting the bar from Liverpool. Hand in mouth moment, don't you think? And I know that this is the one we talked about, Trevor, about I said, they could have nicked it in the end. We had our equal moment a little bit later on as well. But how good was Rice to keep cool like that?
Fergus, the way it's going, right? The way it's going, all you pundits out there, anyone that has to decide on a man of the match in an Arsenal game, just take every game from now till the end of the season and pencil in Declan Rice. Right, he's that good. He really is that good. I think that situation there 4 against 1 is overhyped. I think it was more of a, if I'm honest, more of a Liverpool failure to score than a Rice brilliant defending. But he did make them think and he did actually get across to the shot. So yeah, the man is just immense. Declan Rice is just immense, and he's made that. If we win something this season, I honestly think that there's one or two others that have come in and obviously made a difference. But Rice is the man that's going to help us win trophies if we win them this season. He's just off the scale. His strength and his perception of the game, as in that picture you just put up, he seems to pop up just anywhere when needed. You know what I mean? How on earth has he got back there? How on earth has he been like 10 yards behind all the other defenders? His perception of the game is superb, and if we had to do it tomorrow, I'd pay West Ham another 100 million tomorrow without a thought. I'd pay West Ham another 100 million tomorrow for him.
I also think people are underestimating how good his defending was. In all fairness, I think one, he's dropped off conceded space so that he's not pressed up high and that they can easily play the ball and run in through and goal. He's waited and made him play an extra pass. And then as soon as they played the pass, he's on him as quick as he can. And I think he's actually, by closing down the guy that then receives the ball, being Trent, he's made him play the ball in the air as opposed to rolling it across the ground. And he's given us an unlikely chance, and we got a bit lucky with it. But I think he earned that luck from his defending. I think if you were analysing that goal as that chance, as I'm sure they would back in the training ground, I don't think they would say to Rice, do anything different. I think that's exactly by the book as to what you should do in that scenario. So I think you've also got to say fair play to him. But I've had a lot of West Ham fans since then just look at me and laugh and say, Declan Rice, everyone said he wasn't worth 100 million. He's starting to prove it.
I get it in my local pub as well, full of West Ham around here. Well, you'll have it out where you are. And they're all going, do you think he's worth 200 million now, Ferg? That's what he's worth, what somebody will pay for him. And they come along and say, but is that 200 million? I said, I don't know. What are you going to pay for him? Do you want to buy him? We're not selling, but he's 100 million. But yeah, I'm sure we could probably sell him for 200, 250 million. But he's still a 100 million player. What was your thoughts on Declan Rice's performance, Dale? And then I want to talk about a forward line in a minute.
When it comes to Declan Rice, I don't. There's nothing that I can say that hasn't already been said, not just today, but all season so far. I thought what was quite interesting was there was a poll on Twitter. I'll try and find it the other day around who's been the signing in the summer so far, not just in the Premier League but in European football. And there was a lot of people on there from different leagues saying Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane. But there was a lot of unlikely sources, like Man United fans, for example, saying you guys are overlooking Declan Rice here. Declan Rice has been equally as important to the Arsenal as what Bellingham and Kane have been to Bayern and to Madrid retrospectively. I think we can all agree, though, that he, as far as the Premier League goes, I can't think of a better signing this summer. I can't sing his praises enough.
There's a few players that have done well, but nobody as well as Rice, I don't think. On the forward line side of things, we brought on Jesus for Eddie for Jesus on 78 minutes. And leading up to that, there was a few times where Saka put some balls in. And I'll come to you first on it, Dale. But Saka kept on putting some of these balls in. And there was just nobody past the 18-yard line, just ready to just do what Eddie can do. And the one time he did get close to it, he actually had overrun and he was almost in the back of the net. We do need something. We need Martinelli, for example, Jesus as well, because he drops so deep in the way he plays football and does an awful lot more. But their job is to score goals, and they're not there when the balls are coming in.
I agree. Let's not forget that Saka was putting those balls in despite being absolutely nailed time in, time out by Tsimikas, or how you say it?
Yeah.
And then he had the cheek to moan that Saka slipped on the pitch, that they'd purposely tried to sabotage, and then dislocated his shoulder by rolling into Mr. Klopp. But I've been saying it for a long time. I do believe we need a striker, and I'm going to say the same name over and over again. We had a big debate, you may remember, on the WhatsApp group between Ivan Toney and Osimhen, and I still stand by the fact that Ivan Toney gives us that extra edge, because one thing he does that no one in our squad does at the moment, the most similar to we've had to it was Giroud. He pulls defenders away, so sometimes they'll put two men on him, just like they do Saka at the moment, because they know how dangerous he can be with his left foot, his right foot, and in the air. And one of the comments was about how many goals he scored from penalties. But you've got to win those penalties, right, by being in the right place. And at the moment, whilst we're sitting so deep, Jesus does a great job But for me, sometimes you need to have that man who stays up there, that little bit higher than Jesus does. Because credit to Jesus, he does come back, and quite often you see him on the edge of our own box. But the problem that means we get left short up top. I stand by the fact we need a striker, and that striker for me is Ivan Toney.
Trev, your thoughts on Jesus Martinelli and the crosses coming in? And I also want to touch on, and whether you want to do it now or afterwards, I've got a video clip as well, is the state of the pitch. You talked about the state of the pitch in the sense of coming apart, but it seemed so slippy. There was players falling all over the place. But talk about the striker situation first.
I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi is playing up again, mate. So if I lose you guys again, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I want to see a plan B at Arsenal, but I don't know if I want to see our starting lineup change. I'm in a bit of a catch-22 situation. I know it would be in a great position to have a big striker who works the forward line differently to what we do now. Do I want to see starting games like that? I'm not sure. Would I like to see us have an option to change the game and bring a striker that does different things on? Absolutely. So I want to see us sign a striker, but I don't want to upset the apple cart. And I honestly don't know if Toney is the right person. I know his name's bandied about a lot, but then I haven't got an answer for it. I don't know who to get. But to recap, I want to see a striker come in, but I don't know if I want to see our starting lineup changed. I think I might want a striker to be the plan B.
Do you not change the lineup depending on the opposition? So if you've got big centre halves like Virgil van Dijk, surely you want a big striker who can compete with them both aerially and on the floor. Whereas if you're playing a Bournemouth who aren't known for look at the Newcastle game as well. The Newcastle game, someone like a Toney, where they've got big centre halves, like I think it's Dan Burn, is it? There aren't many centre halves out there like Van Dijk, like Dan Burn, as far as height and commanding structure go. But for those games there, you don't change your starting 11. You just have your starting 11. Oh, I'm contradicting myself there.
It also gives you the options as well. So if you've got, we just say Toney for the purpose of this conversation. If you put him in the centre, and then that means you can take, if Martinelli's not playing great, you can put Jesus out there. If Saka's been kicked 7 bells out of, which he invariably is, and will get injured, you can push Martinelli or Jesus out to the wing. So it allows, by getting that type of player, it gives us like almost 2 players, so we can rotate that whole front 4 around. And that's where I'm coming from as a plan B, and also allows us to use players in different ways. Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I had a bit of a conversation on the way up to Liverpool on this, and my comment then was, what are you looking to get out of this transfer? Are you looking to say we need to improve our starting 11, or are you saying we need a plan B? Because if we're looking to improve our starting 11, I don't think Ivan Toney is the one for us. I would much rather go all out and get Osimhen. I think he's a class above the rest. If you're looking as a plan B, I don't see anyone better out there than Ivan Toney that knows the league, that can give us that plan B in a different style of play. But I don't think you do fully change the game plan based on the opposition. I think you pick your strengths and you play to your own strengths, and you try to be as good as what you're good at as possible. If you're going to go and try and say, okay, this team's good in the air, we'll put a lump up top, we're never going to be as good in the air as, say, going to an Everton or a team like that, or the teams of the past, like Burnley used to be a few years ago, and those sort of teams. So you're going to try and compete against what is their strength as opposed to playing to ours. So I don't think that's right. But I think also the comments on Jesus and saying he wasn't in the box enough, I don't think it's quite right, because a lot of the time I'm looking at Saka and I'm looking at Martinelli and saying, just go to the byline, just drive and then put the ball across. And if that happens more often, Jesus makes those runs more often. I think he's not expecting that ball because it doesn't go in very often. Most of the time it's they'll cut back inside, they'll play the ball again, or they'll cross on their stronger foot. It's never really driving to the byline. So I'm not expecting them to make that run if they don't expect the ball to come. I actually thought Jesus was probably one of our best players against Liverpool. I think everything he did, linking the play, holding the ball up, getting us up the pitch, creating things out of nothing, I thought he had a fantastic game, and I was disappointed to see him go off.
Yeah, I was probably disappointed to see him gone off. I wasn't disappointed to see Martinelli gone off, and that's the thing where we had a centre forward better than Eddie, and Eddie's stats are great, but I don't think he's what we need. I'd like better than Eddie if you're going to add some depth to this squad. Because if I just bring up let me just get rid of the banner first. If I just bring up this here, the lineup. Look at the bench. We only used. I'm going to take that ticker off as well. We had Ramsdale, Cedric, Kivior, Jorginho, El Neni, Smith Rowe, Nelson, Trossard, and Nketiah. Bench wise, it's okay. Many a team would like it, but it's not the best bench in the world. Would you say, Trev?
Well, if it's interesting. I was just thinking then as you were talking, Ferg. If you look at our bench, can you put it back up a second, Ferg? Yeah. Thanks, mate. Cedric and Kivior are defenders. Jorginho isn't going to change the outlook of the side if he comes on. El Neni, Smith Rowe, Nelson, Trossard, and Nketiah are all more of what's already on the field. They don't really make us look a different side, yeah? And that is where I get the point of when we bring a sub on at times, we need to become a different shape of side. But what always plays in the back of my head is, right, we get a lot of possession and we win a lot of ball and we score some goals because we press quickly and we press high and all of our front line and our midfield can push and press quickly. If we lose a player out of that press because we're big on a bit of a lumbering centre forward who ain't going to press quite so quickly, does that change the dynamics too much? It's a massive question, right? It's a lovely question for us to be talking about because the fact of the matter is, we're near top of the league and we're playing really well. But I think my views changed slightly over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and Liverpool performance has changed it a little bit. I want to be able to change the dynamics when needed, right? But honestly, when we were playing against Liverpool at the weekend, if we'd have had an Ivan Toney on the bench, I would have been worried about bringing him on because Liverpool are that quick to get past us and round the press. I don't know if I'd have wanted to change the dynamics, Trossard for Martinelli, yeah, you can see. And Nketiah, when he came on, got to say as it is, Nketiah played really well for them last dozen minutes. Pressed hard, energetic, didn't change the dynamics too much. So I'm sort of going full circle with my views every week, Ferg. We're doing so well. Do you really want to change it that much?
You know why you've gone full circle? That's why we do a podcast. We don't manage the football club.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. And you're right, Ferg. And at the end of the day, we've got to go with what Arteta says because he's the boss. So, yeah, I want to see a striker signed, but I don't want it to damage us. I want it to be the right thing in the right circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, just to come back on that, Trev, I semi-agree, but I disagree on 2 fronts. I disagree on the 2 subs that were made because I think he made those subs because they are not the same as what was on the pitch. And you look at Martinelli and Trossard as an example. I don't think you can get too much of an opposite of players that will play wide. Martinelli is a fantastic winger and he's got great potential, but he does have a tendency at times to run around like a headless chicken. And he doesn't pick his head up and he doesn't play with his head up. Whereas sometimes I'm looking at Martinelli thinking, okay, you've got your head down, so just drive, just commit a player and go past him. That's what you're good at. When Trossard came on, he's 2-footed, he plays with his head up, he sees the picture. And if he knows he's going nowhere, he will be able to link with other players, cut back inside, do something to retain the ball. And he did that a lot when he came on. I think he actually made a big difference in how we retained the ball and in why we had a better second half performance, I think, than the first half. And I think Eddie's also a bit different to Jesus. Jesus will link the play. He will hold the ball up well. He will drop into spaces and he will allow players to make runs. Eddie's not going to do that. He's going to be a poacher. He's going to be a guy that plays on the edge of the line. He's going to be a guy that stays in and around the box. So they did give us something different. The other guys do understand what you're saying. I also feel like it was a bit more on what Liverpool were doing as opposed to us. I feel like their midfield dominated that game and our midfield wasn't quite up to scratch against their midfield in that game. That was the difference between us drawing or winning the game, in my opinion, was in midfield. I actually thought Liverpool played very, very well in midfield and dominated the game.
Dale, finally on this, just because we did touch on it and I almost forgot, was the quality of the pitch. It was more the slippeniness of the pitch. At first I thought Odegaard had ice skates on. I thought maybe, the old days when you have different studs, you change the blades and studs and everything else. But here's an example. It's just off somebody's TV, so we can't get done on that. And that is the foul that Tsimikas broke his collarbone on. But it all came from a really, really slippy pitch where players could have not a lot of control of themselves, which is a danger, one, to the players and clearly to Klopp as well.
Two things on that. One, I don't buy it. We all men play on the same pitch.
But they were all slipping all over the place, Dale. That was my point.
I agree. But it's nothing that we don't do at the Emirates. We do it. So you see it time and time again at most grounds. You'll water the opposition half more than you will your own. At half time, the sprinklers come on again. I don't buy it, if I'm honest. I don't think anything can convince me otherwise. They're affected just as much as we do. When you say it what it is, right? So if our attackers are slipping, so are their defenders. If our defenders are slipping, so are their attackers. I don't personally buy into that. I just think it was probably overwatered. I don't think there's a team out there that doesn't do it given the opportunity. We certainly do it. Not to that level. I think they've probably just overwatered it a little bit, because you are right. Everybody was slipping left, right, and centre. I think they slightly overdid it.
I get what you mean about, everyone does it, but I don't think everybody does it to the extent that Liverpool did on that night. And Trevor, you made comment yourself how atrocious the pitch was. Was it because of the slipping around that you meant? Was that the reason why?
Yeah, I've never seen so many players slip, Fergan. The pitch just looked really wet. And we got lucky because during the game it was dry, but after the game, it absolutely chucked it down. Absolutely chucked it down about 10 minutes after the game ended for about an hour or so. And I don't know what the pitch would have been like if that lot would have got on it. But yeah, I think that they whether they made a genuine mistake and put too much water on the pitch and made a misjudgment, I don't know. Dale's right. It is the same for every team.
Yeah, I get that point.
You can't help but think that it shouldn't happen really in with the technology we've got now. It really shouldn't happen. It's just, I don't want to move on from this game, Ferg, until I mention two players, right? Ferg, I don't know if I can bring them in now. With my internet playing up, I've turned off all my other stuff, so I've not got the running order up. But once again, right, I thought that Gabriel and Saliba were just purring. I'm going to fall right out with you, Fergus, in a minute. I thought that Gabriel and Saliba once again were absolutely fantastic. They're just what we play around. And I'm so pleased now that Gabriel seems to be getting a little bit more publicity alongside Saliba, because they are so good. They really are so good.
There was comments made before. There was comments made before the game, and I think it was one of the pundits in the studio, and they were talking about Gabriel and Saliba, plus then Rice on front of them, and they were saying, "Is that the best defence in the Premier League?" And some of them were actually arguing to say that they think it's probably the best defence in the world, if not in Europe.
Oh, mate, listen. Just think about what we've got, right? You name the back four for the weekend, right? We've had a little pop at Zinchenko. But he done all right. That back four was superb. And then when you think of what we've got to come with, we've still got Tomiyasu to come back. We've got Timber to come back. We've got Kivior, who's a young man improving, If we have them all fit, it's just a wonderful place to be. And you've hit the nail on the head. With Rice playing in front of them, reading the game like he does. Unbelievable. Such a good place to be.
On tomorrow evening, we go back to the Emirates and we play our Boxing Day game a few days late because of TV. No Kai Havertz due to his fifth yellow card. Who should start in his place? Would you have Trossard? Would be my automatic pick in his place, or would you start Smith Rowe? Dale, your thoughts, and then I'll ask Dan.
This time last year, I said you play Smith Rowe. But I don't think he's had enough game time in a game what's a must-win game. I would bring Trossard in. There's been lots of rumours floating around. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if it's true or not, but the Partey's back in training. I think it's a step too far for Partey at the moment, because I think naturally what you could potentially do in a situation would be to, if Partey had some game time behind him, you'd play Partey in the holding role, give Declan Rice that bit more freedom. But then you take him Rice out of what he does best right at the minute. So it's a tough one, but I'd probably agree with you there, Fergan. I'd probably start Leandro.
We got Leandro, Dan?
I wouldn't go with either. I think I'd play Jorginho, in all fairness. I think in recent games where he played, I know he's not played too much the last few games he had for an injury, but up until that, I thought he played very well. I think he'd done a very good job in the team. I think I'd play him and push Rice up. I think it also means that we've got a bit more physicality further up the pitch in a game where their team is going to be sitting very, very deep, not have a lot of the ball. They often have between 20 and 25% possession of the ball, and they will drop very, very deep. So it adds a bit more creativity, I think, in terms of dictating the ball from a position that's a bit deeper, as opposed to someone that's going to try and play between the lines where I don't think they'll win any space. And then you've also always got the option to change it, but a bit more experience in a game where we're probably going to be pushed back on the counter a bit more and need to be a bit more clever.
Trev, looking at those options, who do you think is the best to replace Havertz and the best to get the best out of Odegaard? Because we'll all have to admit, Odegaard is not having the same season as he had last season.
Yeah, well, I think Odegaard had a good game at the weekend, in fairness. I think that's being overhyped a bit, that he's not playing so well. I'm with Dan. I think he'll bring Jorginho in, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him play Jorginho a bit deeper and push Rice up the field a bit. Turn them round. Let Rice go forward a little bit and play Jorginho a bit deeper. That's how I see it panning out. You're right, West Ham. West Ham are a good side. They've had some cracking results. They're fifth or sixth in the league, aren't they? You know, they're right up there. So it ain't going to be the easy game or the type of game that people might think. West Ham are a top side. So, yeah, I'd like to see Jorginho come in, but play the deeper role and let Rice push up into a little bit more space, maybe.
We've won 12, drawn 5 in the last 17 London derbies since we lost at Spurs, that rescheduled game, the one that we all left quite early. You know, Arsenal have won 12 of the 13 home league games against West Ham, with the exception being a loss in 2015-16 as a 2-0 loss. And Moyes is winless in 72 Premier League away fixtures as a manager against Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United. Drawn 21 and losing 51. So Moyes' record against top sides is not great. Dan, who do you fear in that West Ham side? Kudus, Bowen?
I mean, they're the two. I think Bowen's a great player. And I think Kudus has given him someone to link with a bit further up the pitch. Paqueta is obviously a great player. I think also fits between the two in that he's the sort of creative guy that will have Bowen and Kudus running in behind, and they can switch positions, and they don't need a lot of the ball to be effective. They will pounce in spaces that we give them. Notoriously will be in Zinchenko's channel that there's space. So we've got a lot to watch out for, but that also comes with pressure on the ball and not allowing those balls to be played over the top quickly. The more pressure you have on the ball, it means the more we can recover, get back into our shape, and then I've got no doubts that when we're in our shape defensively, that we'll have no problems sort of dealing with West Ham. But that goes for most games. I think they're all going to play on the counter against us,
especially at home. Dale, finally on this game, before we go to predictions, you know, West Ham played a pretty dull game against a poor Man United, but eventually broke them down and got those 2 goals to win. Can you see them just trying to bore the life out of us and just try and nick it?
I don't think we'll allow them to. I think we owe them one after the way they especially with the way they booed Rice last time. I think it was a cup game, wasn't it, where they beat us?
Yeah, it was.
I think we've got a point to prove, and I think we'll go out there and I think we'll do the business. I really do. It won't be an easy game by any stretch, but I think this is also Mavropanos coming back to the Emirates, isn't it?
Fingers crossed. Sorry.
So no, I mean they got the 2 goals against Man United, but I don't judge anybody on performances versus Man United at the moment, because there's a phrase called Spursy. There should be one called Man United. because you never know what's going to happen with them lot and all. But no, I don't see us losing this game. I think we'll win. I think it'll be a game. Won't be a big scoreline. I'll put it on the line now. I say I think we'll win 2-0, but I think we'll control the game very, very well.
Trev, what's your thoughts on the West Ham game and what's your prediction at the end?
I think that we're good enough to control the game. I don't think that Havertz not being able to play will make a lot of difference to us. Although I do love the way Havertz has started to progress. We'll bring Jorginho in, move Rice up the field. Rice and Odegaard will make a lot of space for our front four, and I can see us keeping a clean sheet. I really can. And Bowen's been on fire, hasn't he? But he hasn't come up against Saliba.
And he's shagging Danny Dyer apparently as well.
Gabriel, so I can see a good win. I can see a 3-0 to the Arsenal, nice and comfortable. I'm just ignoring you, Fergus, because you bore me.
I'm going 3-0 as well. Dan,
yeah, that's because you copy me. That's because you copy me. Because you can't think for yourself. And by the way, your pictures ain't either.
My picture's broken because of somebody's wife who told me and recommended command strips, not commando strips, although they were as good as commando strips.
I was in the middle of shouting, the internet dropped out again.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Dan, what's your prediction on this one, mate?
I'm predicting more photos to fall off your wall because you still haven't put them up straight. But on the game, you haven't, mate. You haven't really look. Everyone have a look. Look at the big gold one at the bottom.
Dan, that gold one in the middle,
the golden and the one to the right do not look straight at all.
Yeah, it doesn't.
He's been on the Fosters when he's put them up, hasn't he?
If you tell me that's straight, I'm worried about your orientation, Fergus, because there's nothing straight about what you think straight. I reckon.
He's been using a curly whirly as a spirit level, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're all straight. They're all straight.
Some would say karma.
Bubbles.
Is that when you got to have a cracker?
Straight, Fergus. Right. Anyway.
Score prediction, Dan, before you just waffle on again.
I'm completely lost. I'm going with 2-0. I think I agree with a lot of what Dale said as well.
Fine, that's first.
Everyone's agreeing with me. What's going on?
I know.
It's your experience on Talk Sport, I think that's what it is. Here he is. It's Jamie O'Hara again. Thank you, Lyle.
Interesting for a minute.
Thank you, Lyle, for sending a picture where he's watching us. If you want to send us in on the comments on Facebook, that was Lyle watching at home. So
good old Lyle. He's a good lad. I had a great. Oh, Lyle, you got me in so much trouble at the weekend. I parked the car at her mother-in-law's because she's in the northwest, and I said to her, "Right, I'm getting an Uber into Liverpool. I won't be back late, and I won't be too drunk." Well, before the time, did we have some beer or what? I was in a right mess when I got back to her house. In a right mess. I got in so much trouble. I did so much trouble. But listen, talk about something more important. The European tour starts again in about 7 weeks, and we're all ready to go, boys. We're all ready to go.
Us four in the car driving from Spain to Portugal.
Wonderful.
It should be good.
Well, it's just hit me that I'm going to be in a car with you lot, and last time that happened, I was in a squeeze between a lot of you lot, not yourself, Dale. So I'm not blaming you, but it didn't end so well for me, did it? And I
that was because you'd gone to Oktoberfest. And by the time you got down, we were heading to Southampton. And by the time we got to Fleet Services, you're about 4 foot taller, and that was from sitting down.
I don't know if I might have to book a separate flight and just go straight.
The only mistake we made in this trip is the flight back is 11 a.m., but it's 11 a.m. Spanish time, which is 10 a.m. Portuguese time. We've got to hand the car back, and we've got to be in time. So we're up at 6 o'clock in the morning on the Thursday morning.
7.
Oh, we are.
Oh no!
As you said, I won't be up because I'll still be up. So by the time the club chucks out, I'll just have to pack before the club.
Yeah, I'm going to sleep in the car.
And Fergus is driving. Won't you be busy on TalkSport, Dale?
No, I booked it off. I've got work at half 7 tonight, mate.
No Sky work now?
I ain't having it.
Right, listen, lads. You happy to listen to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Before we go, we'll have a little bit of this. remember what the manager asked. The manager was on a press conference today. He asked for everybody to get into the ground and make some noise. Ashburton Army are doing a walk from the Sobel Centre through the arches to the ground about an hour beforehand. The guys who make all the noise in Block 5 and the North Bank will be in the ground an hour beforehand. Make sure you bring your beer and bring your voices and just make sure that you're not there.
No, unfortunately, it was. I've done something really nice. It was. It's Gerard's Christmas present to his wife, and I said they can use my tickets. So,
well, just make sure they bring their voices with them instead.
Oh, they are. Don't worry about that. That was a caveat.
That's good. That's good. But if anybody is watching, make sure you do get in early. And if you are, even if you're coming in, with only a half hour to spare, just bring your voices, get behind the boys, get behind the team. We're the Arsenal. It's a London derby. It's the last one before the end of the year. And on that note, Del, Dan, Trevor, and everyone else who's listening, Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
I've got just one more thing that's quite serious. I'd like to mention, if possible.
Dan time, not Trev time.
Well, but no, you can never beat Trev time. But you'll see a few messages in the stadium of if you see certain things, see it and report it and text this number, etc. And I'd like to really bring that to people's attention that if you do see or hear anyone saying, "What do you think of Tottenham?" report it. Text the number, seat, row, everything. We don't want those in the stadium. We want to get rid of them. So please report it.
You know what? In the pub before the game at Liverpool, there was a lad in there, and he must have said, "What do you think of Tottenham?" Honestly, no exaggeration, about a dozen times in half an hour. And he was driving everyone to distraction. In the end, he just got ignored. It was horrible. But listen, I've got something else that's going to take 30 seconds, Ferg, right? We're getting all these first-time fans in the ground. It's obviously happening, right? The way the ballot's working and the way the tickets are being distributed. I don't know how it happens, but it's obvious. So I've got a bit of advice for first-time fans, right? Firstly, get to the area early. Enjoy the area outside the ground. Then get in the ground nice and early. Have a couple of beers. Join in on the concourse. Don't spend all your time on the concourse and the 90 minutes of the game filming it or on your phone, because you're missing the most important part of the game, which is the atmosphere, right? The atmosphere. And lastly, to go to the merchandise shop, right? The Armoury after the game. Because firstly, then you don't have to lug that big bag of junk around all game, right? And you don't have to try and keep an eye on it when the ground erupts when we score a goal. And it just makes life easier for you. Go to the shop after the game. Come to the game with as little in your pockets and on you as you can. Forget about your phone for it. Take pictures and film bits, because if you're there for the first time, you've got to do that. You've got to have the memories. But don't spend the whole 90 minutes in the build-up on your phone. You're missing what you're there for, to support your team, to support the greatest football team on this planet, right? The Arsenal. And with that, I'm done, Ferg.
I was just thinking you need to get Arsenal curtains, because they are definitely like curtains from a kid's bedroom, aren't they? So I think you need the Arsenal ones in there. How straight are Trev's pictures?
I'll tell you, whoever commented that, he's got it spot on, I reckon.
They're straight. They're straight.
I'm not sure about that.
Listen, we don't swear on here, but for the kids, go on bleep and say, "Fuck you lot. Fuck you."
I love this podcast. Come on, you gunners.
All right. Listen, Happy New Year to you all, guys. I'll see some of you tomorrow. If not, I'll see the rest of you in the new year. Go on.
I've forgotten something, right? Because we all said, well, I didn't say, but earlier we said that VAR might be improving and getting better. But that poor lad at Forest who got sent off at the weekend. Possibly the worst refereeing decision I've ever seen in my life. It's the best tackle of the weekend, the best time tackle of the weekend, and he's got sent off for it. I feel for him. I feel for Forest. I'm not shy of saying it. Come on.
It was shocking. And to be honest, we did. And the other thing we haven't touched on, we will do it afterwards. I'm thinking we're probably going to do the first 6 or 7 p.m. I'll do it on Monday. Next Monday, we'll do the podcast. We will be talking Sorry, I don't know what's said on there. We will be talking about the Fulham game, which comes up on New Year's Eve, and then we'll be looking ahead to another tie against Liverpool in the FA Cup. And what did Heath have to say there? Well, what are you saying, Heath? What's with the lights from your dressing room?
It's like Amsterdam, Heath. He's got his own little red lights there.
Heath, you like those better. Green lights, not the blue ones that you like.
Blue
there
lights
you go.
on. Blue light district.
No, he'll like blues. He'll like blues. I'll stick to the greens. Thank you very much. There we go.
Do we do another podcast before we play Fulham?
I don't think so. I suppose we can. We're not doing anything else.
We play Fulham Sunday, don't we?
We play Fulham Sunday, so in theory we could do something.
We don't do another podcast.
No, we don't.
We haven't talked about Fulham. Who does the planning on this show? They're bloody useless, Fergus.
Me, but I'm meant to have friends helping me out, but they're not. Dan's too worried about just telling his mates, wait, I'll be down in 10 minutes' time, because he's running late on the podcast, because he's only worried about getting out on the piss. So
I don't know. I was also thinking, how can I annoy you a bit more? But, I'll let you off this one.
You're breathing. That's enough.
Oh, my Lord.
He's so rude, isn't he? I can't believe it. No one else would put up with him.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
Not.
Right, you have been watching an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans, pro Arsenal fans. Up the arse.
You've ended on such a poor...
Thanks for listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons or Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too. Up the Arsenal.